Cindy, you ready?
Bring the budget back into the meeting.
One more
Go ahead, John.
comment on the restructuring inside the office. And I think the fundamental thing is it's not a question of if something happens. It's a question as we as a council should make sure we are maximizing what we, still there? We're maximizing what we're doing to create a safe environment. And this is a small cost, and it's a good psychological, if not actual physical improvement to our facilities. So I have no problems with these renovations.
Well, I don't, Rich, real quick. Dustin came up with a change. We could do a wall and make her, an opening for her. That'd be a lot cheaper than putting bulletproof windows there.
No, Joanne's cost is minimal.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about Cindy right now out there.
Right.
You know, talking about boxing that in, rooming it, so put it by itself. So nobody get access to her. She'll lock the door, nobody can get to her.
well, I think what I heard was the police office, or the police department, has a window out there. If Cindy feels more secure, hopefully, I think she would feel more secure and more sense of privacy. Everybody needs a little privacy. If a wall was constructed, and if you could put, like what we have at the police department, the window.
Oh, duplicate
Yeah.
for Cindy what's on the police department side, yes.
Yeah.
Would actually have a little bit more windows like Joanne, a little bit more where you can see.
Yeah, the plan would be to construct the open space with wall area, but still have enough glass space to actually watch what people are doing and have the open service window.
Oh, yeah, no,
So
no,
it's not like the whole thing would just be glassed in with bulletproof glass.
Bonnie,
That's
can we
not
have
what
an
this was talking
architect or
about.
someone look at this and give it to a design so we can look at it?
They're safety consultants. This is a long way. What we're proposing is enough money to do the right thing,
Yeah, that's what we. wanna
whatever
do.
it is.
Yeah, whatever that is. I mean, you know, I'm not suggesting that it look like the police department, because light is good and visibility is good, but something to make her area more, for her, more confined, I guess, more secure.
Yeah,
More
so
close,
we're
yeah.
pretty much in agreement at this dollar value to go ahead and look and figure out the best way to do it. Is that?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just not in favor to bulletproof vest that whole room. I don't think it's necessary. And her window is fine.
Right. What the biggest problem with Cindy right now is she has no way to get out. She has one way to get out from behind her area, and if that is blocked by someone,
Well, we're gonna have to have an exit door where something is
So that
behind,
she- right, so she
behind
has-
that wall.
Yeah,
Cut a
that's
hole
what
in
they
the wall.
said.
That's what I said earlier. The door will be in the to our hallway. It won't go to the lobby, it'll go to our hallway.
Well, whatever. I
The
think
building.
Mark is
Right towards
right.
my offices, yeah.
I think we need a design. Let's look at it and pick it apart. But there's money in here already for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you approve the money, we can do the design later before we approve the project.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
We're all in favor of
We're
that?
all,
Yeah.
we're all in.
we're all in
that one.
favor of that.
Okay.
Yes.
yes.
Okay, the next one, you see that there's a town hall kitchen. That's for the kitchen that's over here on this side, not the police department side, our side, administration side. Is to redo some of the cabinet works and redo some, and add some more shelves and more, and a bigger sink that's in there now,
Do your thing. I mean, I have no trouble with it.
Yeah.
okay?
All in favor?
Aye.
Charlie?
Aye.
I,
All right.
is Justin done?
You want to go to town hall carpeting?
Yes.
That is to take up some of the carpet that's in here, change it out to some carpet, but also in the hallways, take that carpet up and put like a vinyl flooring, looks down, that sort of looks like a wooden floor.
As long as we have 3 bids,
Okay,
okay?
yeah, oh yeah. We get 3 bids.
I mean, I guess it's already in these numbers. The only thing
Yeah.
that I would say is, are you gonna be doing the whole town hall?
Yes, the whole building.
Well, one's nodding and one's
Whoa,
saying.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
I thought it was just the administration side.
No, it
The
was
whole building?
It was the whole building.
Wow.
You mean this
Police?
carpet in this
35.
room?
We don't have
Yeah.
35 in there
No.
anymore. I'm sorry.
It's
Oh,
15
No,
in
no,
there.
no, yeah. Yeah, down to, because, actually, Dustin has an earlier version. That was one of the things that had to get changed. Do you want to talk about, Hiram, what your macro plan is?
Oh, the reason the carpet was getting nixed for portions was, my plan and what I was thinking of when the next administration comes in and broaching y'all with is an actual slight redesign of town hall. Right now, we've got 2 lobbies. It's confusing for people, first of all. Second of all, it's just, one of them's hardly ever used. Everyone comes to our side anyway, before we send them over to the other side. So ultimately, it would be nice if we could take and have one main lobby on our side, reposition both administrative assistants to that lobby, and then turn the other one maybe into a larger employee space or lounge or something. But this is down the road, not this year at all, but this is like future thought. But the reason not to do that was not to worry about the carpet on this side this year. It was to, in case that does bear fruition in the next 2 years or something, we didn't spend all this money on this side right now.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't design this building, we weren't here. Our forefathers did that, and unfortunately, I don't know what they did, but it's not designed appropriately, period.
Added
Yeah.
But the question I have though is, why design that if you're gonna change in 2 years?
Well, actually, our side of it wouldn't change. What would end up changing is the current administrator's office would end up getting chopped up a little bit to become an administrative assistant's office and have the window there for her. And then this other side would be reworked with a few remaining offices to provide the current same number of offices. The idea, though, is it'd be a minimal cost to restructure a few items like that at that time, and then worry about flooring and other things when doing a renovation project versus doing a tear down of a portion or an addition on or something like that,
So-
because we will need something in the future at some point.
Are you asking us to do the carpet this year or push it off?
Part of it.
Part of the carpet, not the carpet that would affect any of this area that we're talking about.
Which areas, Bonnie, are you asking to do?
Actually, I didn't have the breakdown, so I'm not sure.
PD?
I think it's just PD,
Just PD section.
police
Just
department,
PD, police department section,
their side.
their side.
That's the newer side, isn't it?
It was built, the whole thing was redone in '05. The whole building was recarpeted in '05.
Oh, okay.
In '05,
13 years ago.
yes.
I think originally we had anticipated the entire building
Yeah.
to replace the carpet would be 35,000, so this is approximately half. It's a little less than half
And we
of
can
that.
still proceed that way. Like I said, my thoughts down the road, it's not this year, it's not immediate. It's a concept,
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
but it's also a way for us to, I mean, I personally don't see the need to replace this carpet on this side yet, but the police department does have a lot of wear and tear. I mean, there's portions of ours that's wear and tear too, but, I mean, if we did move forward with a project like this in the next 2 years, I feel like it'd been a waste of money to do it this year.
Yeah.
What
So
area-
you're talking about just replacing
Police department,
police department?
yeah.
Not the rest of this stuff here? Okay.
Are you talking about in the carpet in the lobby there where Joanne is, or the
I don't
hallways?
know, I think literally just behind the police department doors.
The hallways, the offices, it's in the police department.
Behind the doors, yeah.
And that's $15,000?
Well, we took a give or take estimate.
I mean, is it necessary or needed? Can you answer that question?
There's a lot of wear on them.
There is a lot of wear on it, but I mean, it doesn't have to be this year. If you want to drop it, drop it.
Can the wear be patched? I mean,
I'm not a carpet professional. I don't know the
I used to lay
extent.
carpet when I was in college.
It'd be hard.
in the summer. I mean,
How
can it
bad
be
is the
patched?
weather?
That was,
Well, carpet this old, Rich, it'd be hard to imagine.
yeah.
I'm asking the question.
And that was 2 or 3 years ago that you were laying carpet.
The thing is, these are industrial carpets.
Yeah.
They're commercial carpets. And while they do get clean, they also are durable enough to hold a bunch of stuff as well. I mean, they're designed to be changed out every few years. They really are.
Yeah.
I'd be more interested in that, the configuration of Joanne's side is always screwy. If she has to come around and let somebody in, she has to walk back in the hallway all around the police department and come in. If, yeah, that's a future thing. I'd be more likely to want to look into that and the configuration of both sides, one lobby. I'm not in favor of the carpet this year.
What's that, Charlie?
I'm not in favor of the carpet this year.
It just seems like we're going to do a lot of things next year and the year after.
Yeah. What I would like to kind of hear is an idea that for next year, you come up with a solid proposal of what we need to do to the building.
All right.
And then there's sort of, one of the things that comes up at various given times in discussions is we don't have enough space, enough storage, and there's been discussion, do we need a bigger town hall? And I'm not advocating this or not, but one of, at least once somebody has come up and suggested, you know, there's been looking at the lot next door in terms of anticipating future expansion, whether it's 10, 20, 30 years down the road, is sort of a plan to consider acquisition of that land if necessary. Just bringing that up on the table, is there any plan, any thinking about that that's been going on?
We've talked about it internally, especially using for possible parking in the future, but not so much building expansion that way. Not that it's been brought up with me. It's mostly been for securing for parking. Because I'll tell you right now, at full staff capacity, there's not enough parking spaces here. And then with all the events that happen here, if I go away at lunch and Sunset at Sunset's here or Sunset Vision's here, I'm parking at the doctor's office.
Yeah. So I mean, so what I think, two things looking at in the future here is one, and I think more immediate is a concept and a plan for the reconfiguration of this building. And the second is if we're going to consider, and if we have a need, is to start looking at how do we go about if we're going to try to get this lot next door, whatever we would want to do. Because that's not something that we just wake up one morning and say, let's do it. So those are future things, not on today. With that, but if you're serious about reconfiguring this building, I'd say drop the carpet and move on.
Yeah, my only concern is I don't want us to do things twice or 3 times. I mean, initially, right now, we're talking about enclosing the inspections department.
The assistant's office, yeah.
Yeah, just.
Whether or not after that section needs new carpeting, I'm sure it may. The idea that people come in, go to Cindy, and then say, oh no, you have to go around and talk to Joanne, and then have people walk outside and go back into another entrance is it's ludicrous. So, and inconvenient.
I think we should push the carpet off and push the issue of redesigning this building next year.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree.
Rich?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But we're going to look into Cindy's issue
Yeah.
No, cities
We
issues.
will do that, yeah.
and keep that in mind as we go through the reconfiguration.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we don't do things twice.
Will do.
Okay, also in there, you'll see that there's a PD modeling. What that is Ken wants to add 2 closets to an office over there that he has. So basically, they'll be building a partition wall and a door, so you'll have 2 more extra closets over there for them.
What are the closets for?
He really didn't say what it was for storage.
He'll,
Well, they put it in the gym. Nobody goes in there.
And
he'll be here tomorrow. We can table that
yeah, you can ask him.
Okay.
tomorrow.
I'm good.
Okay. Also in there, you'll see where it says routine maintenance in there. That's just to keep all the buildings up and going. Oh, you left that out? Okay, okay.
Actually, here. It's in their first one, but
Oh, that's right.
we did everything.
We did everything? fire station, okay, you took that out. Okay. Well, maintenance and ground, that is, still with the contractor doing the landscaping work, and for us to do the beautification that we do, plants, mulching and stuff, that, we take care of all the grounds and maintenance that we do.
Dustin, we give a contract out now to Carolina Creations, right?
No, it's, Nature Works,
What's that?
Nature Works.
Okay. By eliminating leaf and limb, can we, your department do that and we eliminate private contractor?
No, you
You're
still have to
supposed
use
to
them.
do this.
Yeah, you still have to use them. Right.
Why?
Mark, that's what I was discussing before. Cindy, Bonnie sent out the contract list this morning, and $324,000 for contract services, and the other 20 for the other things. Yeah, see, what I was trying, I mean, if we go do the leaf and limb, is there anything on these, and I'm just brainstorming, so don't shoot me, is there anything on these two lists that can be eliminated? Now that we have 3 days of, excluding the stormwater stuff, you know, that they're gonna be doing, is there anything on this list that can be eliminated?
No, not on this list. No.
All right, no, I'm just asking.
The reason being is if they were to take over these responsibilities, they wouldn't be able to take over the other responsibilities.
Yeah,
You still be, it takes them 2 days to mow town hall. They do the roundabouts, they do the approach to the bridge, streetscape, they do both welcome signs.
yeah.
They do a lot of that.
Is this the same company that does
The park,
town hall
yes,
too?
yes. So there's just not the park, or that area they do all of that.
I
No,
think
they do a
an
nice job.
excellent job.
They take about 2 days.
They do a nice job, they're good,
Yes.
they're very conscientious.
Yes.
Now, your people maintain the mowing and the edging,
But the right of ways
especially on the streetscape on Sunset Boulevard.
on the causeway.
Right,
Yes, we do that. They only mow, they take care of what say the streetscape, basically from the marsh up to Main Street. And the gazebo parking lot, they also take care of it.
so it's their workers that are out there edging the grass?
Yes.
and It's not your guys?
No,
In the yellow
Well,
shirts.
they do an excellent job. They really do.
You picked a good one.
Anything else?
I'm
That's
good
it.
with, I'm good with this public infrastructure.
Yeah,
You good with Charlie?
Yes.
Rich? Yeah.
good.
Yes,
With the minus of the carpet, right?
Yeah.
right.
Monty's
Yeah.
carpet.
carpet.
Dustin, you did good.
Minus the
Oh,
carpet and the,
Sanitation to go.
I
We
don't
got some
get,
more to go.
He's not done yet.
No, I'm not done yet. Still
getting
got-
pushy now.
Is
I
that-
keep going.
is
Got some more.
If you keep going, a few more pages,
Oh.
just keep cycling the pages.
Going over here?
Yep, after the map will be sanitation. And then after that's environmental
Oh, I
protection.
see something.
It is, okay, contract service. Okay.
Which one are we on right now, Dustin?
Sanitation.
Okay.
Department of Supplies, as you see right there, that's for us to take to, Ike Williams, that's our landfill disposal. By privatizing leaf and limb, we can decrease that by about 10,000.
Which one? I'm sorry, I didn't follow that beginning.
Department of Supplies,
Yep,
yeah,
that's basically for us to haul stuff to the landfill. So by privatizing, going out with a contractor to do leaf and limb, you can decrease that by about 10,000.
So it'll be about 8,000.
Yeah, be about 8,000. You
Take
can
it
ta-
off.
Yeah, you can take 10 out of that. All it is to be just for us to haul stuff to the landfill and stuff like that, for us. We won't have to, okay? Contract service, that's for the, second pickup, from May to end of September for contract with, Waste Industry for that's the Saturday pickup. And also recycling's in with that.
Roll-off containers.
and the roll-off containers also for the town hall, fire station stuff.
We constantly have a roll-off there?
Yeah.
The what?
A roll-off.
What?
Roll-off containers. Big,
Those are the big, oh,
Yeah.
okay,
big
big
bins.
dumpsters.
The dumpsters.
Question I have is derived from sort of the environmental discussions that we've been having. I kind of like the idea, and I've discussed it with Mark here, of taking and making recycling a mandatory program, which, and I'm just, it may or may not be appropriate to talk about it under sanitation.
that's where it's budgeted.
That's where it's at.
Okay, so the idea would be to make it mandatory in discussions with Hiram, that we can't make it mandatory and make people pay for it. It would have to be something that we included in our budget, but keep the same recycling program that we have now. Bring in all of our properties to do that, and include it in our budget as something that the taxpayer gets as part of their budget. I think the estimate roughly that came from you, Bonnie, was about 100, what is your estimate?
I got an updated
Okay,
quote yesterday. We currently are servicing fewer than 1,000 homes, something around 900 single-family detached homes, a mixture of the island and mainland. On the island, recycling is every week, March through September, and every other week the rest of the year on the island and on the mainland. We're currently paying for those roughly 900 customers. We pay $52,000, and we receive in payment from those people an additional, they cover the cost of that and provide an additional $5,000 or so.
So in other words,
So
it's a
we're
wash.
covering, I'm sorry?
It's a wash.
Yes, it's a wash. If we were to do mandatory recycling and pay for all of it, we estimated approximately 3,700 homes, single-family detached, at a rate of $4.15 a month for those that are every other week, which is what we're currently paying, and $7.25 for those homes on the island that have weekly pickup. I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's $4.15 a month per home for every other week pickup. On the island, it's for the months, pickup once a week during the summer months, during the high season months, and then the rest of the year, it's $7.25 per month. So that comes to $221,000 for year-round service, equivalent to what we're now providing to 900 people. So
Is that a wash? I'm just asking.
mandatory would be no payment from the customer.
However, we
From,
can't force them to pay?
We could set up a utility, but we'd have to set up a utility for that, basically speaking. It'd be like, you know, most places would put this on their water bill as additional service, like when they do collection for trash, if they make their citizens pay for trash, but we don't have any utility set up at all. And it was my understanding that it wasn't the desire to make it, they pay into it, it's a desire to make it a tax program from our coffers, but what we can't make them do is actually use it.
Right.
See, the problem,
How would we enforce that?
Well,
That's the
there'd be no
concern.
enforcement. You just give them the can and they use it or they don't use it, and then we pay for it. But if you want to make everybody, I mean, we could set up a utility as a fact and make everybody pay $5 a month. It's not going to be a popular decision.
you know, this has to be really studied. If you look at the, Bonnie, I think mentioned 220,000, Bonnie?
Yeah, 221.
Yeah.
That's different than the 109 I was working off of.
I'm not sure where 109 came from.
Yeah,
When we were
That,
in the sky, yes, out of the blue.
that is equivalent to 1.5 cents on the tax rate. Okay? That's 1.5 cents. Many of the homes on the island are empty. And even some of the homes here in the mainland are empty during the winter months. So this has to be really studied, understood. We don't want to create a controversial issue by hip shooting. To me, this would be a fantastic assignment, a fantastic task for the Environmental Resource Committee. So I think we should just put this off the table until we really do an analysis to make sure and understand what we're doing. Increasing our fixed cost is not going to help the future taxpayers of Sunset Beach.
Well, I disagree, but what I like to do is find a way that we could pay for this and be neutral. And that, you know, I've been paying for recycling for the last 30 years where I used to live. It was common courtesy, you just paid for your recycling. I mean, I think most people who live here paid for it up north or where they lived. I don't think there's going to be a backlash of $5 on their utility bill or on their garbage bill. So,
We don't supply them those bills, though.
I know, but anyway, we can work with Waste Management to put that on that bill and we get, recoup that fund.
I'm sure that we could have it, but
What was the question?
Waste Management bill the
What-
customers for recycling and then they pay us back to cover the cost of $221,000.
I would imagine if that were the case, these costs would go way up. I don't think Waste Industries would buy that at all.
Okay.
Right now, the recycling program is a little bit more flexible than it used to be. People can sign up per quarter, and it used to be that if they missed the sign up in the fall, they missed it for the whole year. Now,
Or they paid full cost.
we
we
didn't,
get a
actually, no, we
discounted
didn't even
cost.
add anybody at all once the deadline.
But I mean, they had to go, if they missed the deadline, you had to go to Waste Management to do your own.
Correct,
Contract
correct.
with them paying a whole cost, not the discounted cost you get going through the town.
Correct.
So Bonnie, what
And-
do other towns do in mandatory recycling? When they mandate it, what do they do? They just-
Southport, I know as a taxpayer myself, Southport has a enterprise fund, water and sewer fund, and electrical fund.
Yep.
And the garbage, the second pickup for garbage is billed on the water and sewer bill, $7.95 a month, and recycling is mandatory, but it's free, quote unquote. So that taxpayers are not charged or customers are not charged directly for recycling, but they are charged for the second pickup. They also benefit from the first pickup. The county pays that just like the county pays it here. And other ones, I think it's a variation, but it is part of a larger, I mean, you could conceivably spend a little bit of time on this and
You have 4 days,
do a
Bonnie, to
real
figure it out.
cost-benefit analysis. I'm
You
sorry,
have 4 days to figure it out.
ain't happening.
I just feel like we need to do some type of recycling. I just think,
we-
I walk
we-
down these streets at night at garbage pickup, and they're all full of cans and bottles, and it's just a waste.
I agree, and, you know, people in other areas of the country are attuned to recycling. It's just a natural thing. Where we lived in Fairfax City, of course, our taxes paid for it, but the city had just a great recycling plan. They even had a plan for the commercial businesses. And, you know, if our restaurants and bars, if they recycled their glass and aluminum, we'd all be much better off. So it's really an education thing, and you just have to work on people, and work on people until it's just a natural everyday thing to take care of your recyclables. There's a different mindset down here. I said something to one neighbor about recycling, and well, you know, you can't put this in there, you can put that in there. So when in doubt, throw it out. Well, that's the wrong mindset.
Probably.
We really have, we have to find some way to push this and get people used to recycling.
I think
period.
education is a key to this, because people are not gonna use it, even if it's mandatory, unless they are really educated.
Yeah.
So many people don't recycle.
You see, we had a
They
problem up
don't, and
north.
that's because they're not educated. They don't understand what's going out there in our ocean and killing our fish.
I mean, where I'm from, we've been recycling since 1970. 1970. And the reason why we had to recycle is because our landfill was full. And there's no space, believe me, there's no space in metropolitan Boston for landfills. So there were meetings, there were discussions, people were informed, and we had citizen buy-in. And we implemented a recycling program. When you say, everybody got a yellow bucket. Here, it's a barrel. Everybody got a yellow bucket, and they put their glass and their newspapers and all that in it when you brought out the regular trash. It was just part of the system. And people understood it, because all the landfill areas were full, and the chemical drainage, I mean, all the environmental issues. Down south, because of the land mass that we have down here, it was just never really a concern, because they can just pick up everything and throw it in the landfill. That gets filled, they can find another acre somewhere. So it's a whole re-educational tool. I'm disappointed that a lot of northerners who have moved down here don't do it. That's my gut feel.
One of the things that I keep hearing, yes, there is a key element of people that don't understand, but there's another element of, up north, I didn't have to pay for it. Why do I have to pay for it down here? Well, up north, they did pay for it in part of their taxes, which is significantly higher than our taxes are down here. But nobody got recycling for free. You know, either you had a service where you paid for it directly, or you paid for it indirectly via your taxes, but it was paid for. And I think that the key thing here is that we really need to start doing something proactively to improve the recycling, to improve the small steps that we can take in terms of assisting our environment here. I didn't anticipate it was 221,000. I was looking at something that was about half that. Not sure exactly how we handle that and would work that in. But every year that we postpone mandatory recycling is more junk that we're putting into our landfills and our dumps. So it's an issue we ought to do something about.
Have you figured out how we could do it and make it revenue neutral?
Well, yeah, you either have to hire staff, to handle that and actually do it as our own pickup, or like I said, we'd have to set up a utility.
Yep.
But either way, it's still gonna cost the only way to make it revenue neutral is to charge the person directly. That's the only way to handle that, and it's a matter of setting that up. It can be set up. It could be a setup, you know, to where we do a monthly billing from here, but you're still gonna have to end up hiring personnel to handle the program.
I think this needs a lot of further study, Mark, and I think, I hate to table things, I hate to kick the can down the road, but this needs further study so that we all understand the decisions and the impact of our decisions, what we're doing.
Well, I think, I'd like to work on this. John, would you work with this with me? And we'll see if we can come up with some solution to recycling?
Yeah, I'd be
Now
glad to.
that we have a number.
I mean, I'm not sure exactly how we come up with a revenue neutral, because
Well, you don't know
we
yet.
don't, you know, nothing jumps out at me at the beginning as to where we're coming up with the neutral part of it. the revenue that would make it neutral, other than an
Maybe a
additional
utility
cost.
cost, I mean, just pass it on.
Pardon?
A utility cost, like Hyman's saying.
Well, it has to be studied, Mark. It
I
has to be
understand. Well,
studied.
that's why I don't want to do with John. Study it,
It has to be studied.
yeah.
And I'd like to point out that we can take the time to study this, and then you can still implement it halfway through the fiscal year and handle, first of all, initial budget amendment. I mean, that decision doesn't really need to be made today if you want to actually study it further. If you want to go ahead and put it into our cycle and everything, we can work the numbers in somewhere. It's just we're gonna take from someone else to make this happen, if we're gonna use it under this current budget, without doing a tax increase or without doing a utility. If we're gonna pay for it, we just have to figure out where someone's gonna lose something.
Well, I'd be happy to work with Mark to, see if we can come up with some type of solution. And, if we leave open the option that we can, do a budget amendment later on in the year.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, that makes sense.
something their future finance director would have to figure out.
It's
for us.
not unheard of to start new programs in the middle of the year just because you finally worked out the details.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just not the best way to handle it either, but it is still a possibility. You also, when we're studying this, need to figure out what you mean by mandatory. Because I still say that there's no way we have the personnel, manpower, or whatever
Oh,
to make someone fill
you're-
that blue can up
You're
with
absolutely
their
right.
stuff, so.
You're
Yeah, but I
absolutely
think
right.
if the people have a blue can, you'll use it. I don't have a blue can, but I have a recycling bin that I use myself, and I take it to the dump on 904. That's how I handle it. So, people may handle it differently. Once they know they have a can, it's underneath their house, they may use it more. They may not. You're never gonna make it 100%, but.
Right, I'm just saying
It's gotta be
that
an improvement in what we have.
The terminology when presented to the citizens might be, you know,
Yeah, they need to be educated or re-educated.
Mandatory is a bad word.
Very
it's
bad.
not,
Thank you,
it's just a
Charlie.
loaded word. It's not a bad word, it's just a loaded word.
It's a, yeah, it's a,
So, the whole process of doing this research and everything, we'd also could probably expand out to an education program at the same time and unveil everything at one time.
We can start putting that on the website, maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
Put that on the website.
Education is the key to get people to actually do it.
All right, John.
No, not education.
Well, later on, John, you and I'll talk and get together
Yeah.
on it. Next, Dustin.
You want to roll over to environmental protection?
So we're happy with sanitation without
Yes.
Okay.
tripling the cost?
Well, I don't think that. And that's where you'll see the brush ban, the leaf and limb will be under sanitation.
Yeah, they'll go under sanitation. In the environmental protection, you'll see that it says also about the living shoreline. We don't, even though it's in for this fiscal year, there was money allocated for it. We don't know if it's going to take place.
I'm sorry, I didn't do a short budget, I don't have a short.
I don't see it.
Yeah, we don't have the same
It's-
kind of, we've got the,
I didn't
The
do,
groups.
Dustin doesn't have the short budget. You know how all on these other ones,
Yeah.
the first page is just 2 years with the explanation of increase and decrease? Dustin has the same budget that you all got April 2nd. There weren't any changes to the numbers, but the format was a little different. And that's my bad that I didn't give you a short budget for environmental protection. There's only a couple of items. That professional services under environmental protection is where the living shoreline
Yes.
is. And the increase over last year's budget is a recalculation, largely a recalculation of living shoreline costs because of the riprap, I think mostly,
Yeah, some
right?
of the riprap repair. Also, that's take place over there next to the bulkhead where we have the erosion that's going on right now.
Park.
Yeah, in the park. Still waiting for the permit from the state. If they give it to us, it could happen this fiscal year. If not, it'll be next fiscal year before it happens.
that's in the budget.
Yes.
It's already in here. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So just
If it takes place this year.
Just leave it in.
Yeah, if it takes place this year, we can take it out for next year,
Okay.
but we don't know yet.
Did we get a price for that excluding the
Oh.
cost of, I think the grant was 30 or 35,000.
34.5.
Yep. That's for the living shoreline. The riprap is by itself. This ain't got nothing to do with the Living Shoreline or the grant. This is us to do the repair. That's where the,
What do you
bank-
plan on doing there, Dustin? Put a wall up?
where from the floating dock back to the bulkhead is the riprap is the big rock.
Yeah.
Just like they done with the causeway, and then we've already done at the park already.
Okay.
Is just place that
So
there.
you put stone there?
Yes,
Okay.
Right, we can take comfort that it's allocated.
okay.
Including the Living Shoreline
The Living
project.
Shoreline is
Yeah.
in there for this
Yeah.
year also, but like I said, we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might get next year also.
Okay.
Whether we spend it or not, whether it happens or not, it's a separate issue.
Yeah, yeah.
And if we don't spend it this year, it will revert to the general fund. It'll go back into the general
And
fund.
it'll be,
And then take it
And then we
back
can
out
spend
again.
it.
Again,
Right.
it would go back over, roll back over.
Right.
Also in there is, also this year under covers anything with the beach, bulkheads, repairs, anything like that that we need also, that we have to repair, like in the park, into the fish streets, into some of the, bulkheads that's on Canal Drive that belongs to the town. This is where also where it falls to.
yeah, help me with that now. These are bulkheads that the town owns?
Yes, bulkheads. that
Only
we
the
have-
bulkheads that the town owns?
Yes, where it fall under. That's it. That's it.
So overall, it's only 10,000. It's a little bit more than what's budgeted this
Yeah,
year.
a little bit.
I don't have any questions.
Question 5 million?
Nope.
I'm good.
You okay, Charlie?
I'm good.
Rich?
Yep.
Stan? Okay.
How-
Powell bill? Be the next one?
Has its own tab.
Yeah. You'll see in here where it's, where the other part of Crooked Gully and Barony Place, where the paving is, this is where it falls in the other 200,000. There's no equipment for this, department either.
It says here, dump truck replacement.
Yeah, that's what we discussed before, right?
That's where we've, I've overspent in repairs for that old one that we've had
Right.
for the past, until we got the new one.
We got the new one, so our maintenance is reduced.
Yes,
Correct.
yes.
I have a question. Somewhere in this package, I saw a figure of $2.21 of the price of gas per gallon.
Was it in the leaf and limb?
It was somewhere, it might have been the leaf of limb
Leaf and
estimate.
limb. That's where it
Is that the estimate you're using for gas and oil
Diesel.
throughout?
was. Diesel.
No, actually, the
Sure.
gas lines
diesel.
are more a function of historic
And so,
practice, slightly increased.
so my question is, what kind of figure are you using? Because
It's not-
we've gone from about 220 to about 260 and
Right.
projected by summertime being $3 a gallon.
Right.
Yeah.
We actually have a fuel agreement, we purchase fuel through a separate agreement, using county pumps and other, that can reduce prices at retail outlets, so that our cost is not the same as retail, it's less. However, the budget figure is not a function of the number of gallons being purchased. It's more usage with guesstimates thrown in. It's worked well in
Yeah.
the past.
Okay, but that dollar figure
That was just for
does
purposes.
not reflect what we see on the gas pumps now.
No, that was the
Okay.
leaf and limb
All right,
analysis.
that's good to know, thank you.
Any other questions on the Powell bill?
Can I fuel up there? No questions.
Charlie?
No question.
No, that was covered before.
Everybody okay with the Powell bill?
Yep.
All right.
Yes.
Accommodations
Very
tax.
That's where me and Richard.
Okay.
That one tomorrow.
The accommodations tax?
Yeah, that's me and Richard.
Yeah, well, something to think about. We can punt on accommodations tax, because we'll need Richard for part of it.
Yeah.
I do want to introduce you to something that's more than it usually is on the accommodations tax budget. The accommodations tax is where the nonprofit the outside funding for nonprofit organizations resides. If you look down towards the bottom, the tourism fund, it's called tourism funding outside, and there's a proposed increase of $12,000, and that is largely due to an increase in what the planetarium is asking for, or actually what the planetarium is budgeted for, because the planetarium has asked for more in previous years, they just didn't get budgeted at more.
So we did give them money last year, correct?
Yeah,
So-
yeah. I've got a list if anybody's interested, but also the addition of Brunswick Family Assistance and Brunswick Literacy Council. They both submitted packets requesting us to fund their programs. So in the detail for accommodations tax, you have copies of their applications. So if you could take some time to review that tonight, and, be in a position to discuss it tomorrow, you have
Bonnie,
a
other than
little
the
time.
planetarium, have we ever funded Brunswick Family Assistance? in the
I
past?
think some time ago.
Yeah, a few years back they
Yeah.
used it. But then the council, I thought, I don't know, it's a very confusing history. I thought the council at one time decided not to fund these programs. So that has to be discussed. Once you open up the floodgates, it's difficult. Plus, this is taxpayer money. And if the taxpayers want to contribute to these organizations, they should be able to do so on their own. It needs to be further discussed.
I have a question about, are these, for instance, Brunswick Family Assistance, that's not a 501c3 program, is it? Corporation.
Yes.
I think
they-
it is.
It
yes,
is.
Yeah, they all
Yeah.
need to be,
Yeah, they're all nonprofit.
yeah, they're all
These are all
designated
nonprofit.
501c3s.
All 501c3.
Yeah, there, and they provide, just as a side note,
Could be a 3 or a 4.
Go ahead, Bonnie.
the packages that they submit, what you have here is a copy of their 4-page application. They have also all complied with the rest of the requirements, which is to provide copies of their Form 990, which is their nonprofit tax form, and various other documents, financial statements, et cetera. I have those documents, however, I did not provide copies to you. If you have questions about that, I can easily provide, I just need to make copies for you. Or give you digital copies, scan it and email it to you. I meant to do that. Charlie asked for it last week, and I said, yes, certainly I'd provide it to the council, a digital version of it. Whether or not they are eligible, according to our system, the finance director decides whether they're eligible, whether they've met the requirements or not. We did have one organization, the Boy Scouts of America, that did not meet the requirements. And I had discussions with the person who had submitted the application, provided the guidelines again, and left the door open for figuring out how to make them eligible. And I never heard again from the person. So these 4 are we received 5, and 4 were eligible on the face of what they presented, their documents. However, what you have in the application is the purpose they intend to use the funds for, which is germane in this case because it's accommodations tax money, so that all of their applications are directed toward servicing our tourist trade.
Yeah,
So you're
in some
saying that
fashion.
The concertinator is asking for $40,000.
no,
No.
they're
10,000.
asking for 10.
10,000.
The Brunswick Family Assistance is asking for 1.5.
Literacy Council, 1.5.
The Literacy Council, 1.5, the Concert Series, 10K, the Planetarium, 14.2. Bonnie, here's my point. Doesn't matter where the funding comes from. These are expenses. Doesn't matter how they're funded to me. they're still expenses. Now, I'm assuming these expenses that you're charging to the accommodations tax are in the expense budgets of,
Of the accommodations tax, yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
That's
That's
all I'm
what this
saying.
is.
No, I understand that. These are the expenses that are being funded by the accommodations tax.
Right.
Yeah, but the expenses themselves, are they also reflected in the expense budget of these?
The accommodations tax stands alone. Whatever the accommodations tax spends, whatever is left over compared to the revenue it brings in, goes into the general fund. This is the only place that these expenditures are proposed, within the accommodations tax.
It says here increase, it says here, new equipment, UTVs, ATVs. I
Right.
mean, are these expenses in the
Yes.
associated budgets,
No,
expense
this-
budgets?
No,
Or are these just
The-
separately from the
Is-
occupancy tax?
just separate from the occupancy tax. The general fund is separate from the accommodations tax fund. Accommodations tax charges, gets its revenue from 3%, that people are charged 6%, 1% goes to the county, 3% goes to accommodations tax, 2% to beach
Yeah, I
erosion.
understand that.
So these are expenditures against that 3% only.
What is this UTV equipment, $2,000? What is that?
That's rich.
That is being requested by the Assistant Fire Chief, Richard Childress.
Now, was
And-
that in his budget too?
No, it's in the accommodations tax
It's-
budget. It is not in the fire,
It's not included in that.
correct.
Then we need to wait until we talk to Richard.
Right.
Yeah,
The only
they said that. We were just covering the nonprofit part.
Right,
Okay, I'm just-
because you'll need to, there's a considerable amount of material to review regarding the request for outside funding.
Got it.
Otherwise, we're discussing this tomorrow.
Yep.
Correct.
All right.
So unless there's any other questions about the
No.
outside funding, we'll go to beach erosion.
Yeah, beach erosion. In the beach erosion fund, this is where we budget for the walkways, the 33 beach accesses that we have. You see that in your packet that I put a 2-year plan together. On the east end, to stand 2 of them out and take the third one and try to turn it into a handicap access, if possible.
Which one is that?
That's 15, 16, and 1602.
It's the last page in your
I
book.
got
Do we have an easement for that?
There's a 5-foot easement, but we're going to try to go to the property owners on both sides and see if we can get an extra 2.5 feet to allow us to have 10 foot, so we can build a handicap ramp on that end.
So you require 10 feet for handicap?
Yeah, you need 10 foot.
Yeah. So when, does that go all the way from the street to the beach?
Here it can go from the beach in between the houses, yes, the access here. We widen it out, maybe, yeah,
Okay, because when you get in between those houses,
yeah. We would look at that.
that one is very narrow.
Yes,
And taking 2.5 feet on each side of the, taking 2.5 feet additional on each side would pretty much use up most of the space between the two houses.
or we start where the access is at now, in between the house, and ask for that and widen it up there.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're talking about then starting on
Where the
the
wooden
beach
section-
side of the
yeah,
house,
Yes,
not on the street
No.
side of the house.
and start from there and widen it out through there.
Okay, there's room.
Yes, there's room through there.
To do that. And when we do that, would we also continue to have those particular areas have steps sort of in the middle so that houses,
These are,
about 50 feet out from the houses, there's a set of steps that go down so that couple of the interior houses have paths back behind them through the dunes that cut up so they don't have to walk through people's yards to get to the walkway.
on this one,
That's 1516 to 1602.
it's flat already. It's
Yeah,
pretty well-
but it's
there-
elevated flat, and there are steps
That's
so
right.
that the residents can get up.
We
there.
can, we
What
can
I'm
look at
saying,
that.
we're not gonna take away access ways
No.
for residents. We
No.
would maintain the
Yeah.
access ways for the residents when they do that. Okay. If we do handicap in there, do we have to do anything about parking?
We'll have to make one parking place out there for a handicap sign. We'll have to put one.
Say that again, Dustin?
One's parking place. We'll have to put one handicap sign out there.
And technically speaking, it'll have to be improved.
Yeah,
It can't just be parking on the sand.
no.
Yeah.
I do a little bit of improvement. But the other ones,
Do we need camera permits to take them up over the dunes?
oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'll have to
And
get
and
him
do we
permits.
anticipate any issues with that?
No.
I mean,
Dustin, when you say 100 feet, are you gonna do that in a ramp and not steps, right?
Where we can ramp it, we will. But if it has to get down to the point that we have to do steps, we'll have to do steps.
Ramping would be a preference, I would think.
That, I like to do ramping.
Would be a
uh,
preference.
it
With
kinda
ADA,
depend-
it has to be ramped, you can't have steps, you gotta be ramped. Now, with the other ones, there are steps already there. We would try to ramp as much as we can,
Yeah,
but once you get out there to the beach, it changes.
yeah,
Dune could be a little bit higher, a little bit steeper, just depends on how far the grass is out there.
right.
and
If you
how
don't have the
far
right fall, you can't ramp.
No,
And you also have some areas where the beginning of the walkway is set back where the edge of the dunes is, so you have sort of like a, I'll call it a cave, it's not the
yeah,
right term.
like a cutout, yeah.
Yeah, and an offset. Will camera let you go out to the edge of the dune line, or do you have to go back to the sort of where it comes back in the inset?
Where it's recessed back, they look at both sides,
Yeah,
and they'll let you go out to the grass line. You cannot go past that grass line. They'll let you go out to the stabilization for that grass, for the toe of the dune, they call it, and you got your grass line. That's how far, they want you to stay behind that grass, you won't let you go past that.
My concerns are just
Excuse-
ramp when we can, because I know every year we have several elderly people fall on steps.
yeah. Can you see that?
Yeah, you can,
Okay,
if it
so
goes straight
here-
across.
here's the dunes,
Yeah.
and there's actually where the steps is, and the dunes kind of go back in a lot of those, particularly on the one we're talking about for the handicap. So my question is, will CAMA normally let us ramp out to this point?
Yes,
Okay, that's the key question. That
Yeah, as long
makes
as you-
sense. In that case, you have a chance
If-
to get rid of some of the
if
steps.
that's how far the grass is out,
Yeah.
the natural vegetation is out there, yes, they'll let you go out to that far, but if it's not, they won't let you go that far out.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
gonna go to the line of first natural
Vegetation. Right.
stabilized vegetation. So if some of them are more developed than others, that's fine, but largely speaking, when you're up this high and you've only got 10, 15 feet out in front of you, you're not gonna get a ramp.
No,
That's
you're not
just-
gonna get a
we
ramp,
just-
you will get steps.
We just want to have everybody cognizant of the fact that we're all getting old up here. And most of our citizens are elderly. The average age in this town is 67. That means there's a lot of people in their late 70s and 80s.
Young people don't want stairs either.
We
We
just-
try to ramp where we can.
I just, on 12th Street, we just eliminated 2 sets of steps on 12th Street.
Yeah. No, it's a good thing. I'm just-
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
good thing.
where we can, I try to do every one of them, I don't like steps either.
Even Laurie's getting old.
Good.
How are you
Whoa,
gonna,
wait a minute now.
39th Street, those steps are treacherous.
39th Street, it will take a lot of ramping back towards the house.
Right.
It can be done, but it's take a lot of work.
Now that you don't have leaf and limb, now you have all the time.
I
in the
know,
world to-
that's right. Yes, we can,
After you're done with stormwater.
yeah, it's on stormwater, but yeah, it could be done.
Don't
It's gonna take a
quantify.
lot.
That's a dangerous one. I mean, I've seen people fall there.
It could be done.
The alternative is get rid of all the dunes.
Yeah, but then you realize how much it costs to use a bulldozer and to truck all that stuff away, then we have to find a place to dump all those things? You know, it's not worth it.
Yeah, about $6,000 for a bulldozer.
It's a joke.
That's right, you can't take any, that's right.
Okay.
Bonnie, just help me out a bit. This should take, I think, 10 seconds. How much are we required to put into the Beach Nourishment Fund? What does the statute provide, what does the statute dictate to us that we have to provide to the beach nourishment funds each year?
2%
2%.
2%?
The
of the,
accommodation.
of the occupancy tax.
And that's around 200,000 or so?
400.
400,000 a year?
Go back to
Okay.
your revenue section, the third page in,
Bonnie, I heard.
yeah, okay. So
I heard, that's all right.
it's there,
So it's a substantial amount of money is what you're saying.
correct.
I hope Frank pulls through.
I have a question about that, though. Suppose we have the big storm and have to use the beach renourishment money to renourish the beaches. We use it for stormwater, it's not there.
Well, Charlie, if you look at the beach, Anthony Matthews, I mean, a considerable amount of dunes were taken out, and they have all come back. Well, most of them will come back, naturally.
Yeah, that's
Does-
the nature of our beaches.
Yeah, our beach really renourishes itself.
The Sunset Beach probably, if we get hit by a big storm, we're still gonna have plenty of beach out there. We're not gonna have any houses.
That's why we put them on sticks,
And
So we
the
don't
bottom
need
part just
renourishment.
flushes
let
again.
the water go underneath them.
It also pays for the walkways, and so the damage to the walkways due to a storm.
Yeah. And Sunset Beach has been fortunate for a long time now that we haven't been hit by a big storm. Matthews was a glancing blow to us, not a bad storm.
And look at the damage it did.
Yep, yep.
You're done?
So, what we're doing tomorrow,
Dustin's got his book closed, Bonnie has her closed, that
Yeah.
means we can.
not just yet. Bear with me. Tomorrow, we thought Dustin was going to take all day. We were also planning on police and fire taking all day. So the way we left it last week was that police would be first tomorrow morning, and then so that Richard didn't have to hang around the whole time, he was scheduled at 1 o'clock after lunch. Do you still want to do that, or do you want to do back-to-back? Scheduled Ken for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and have Richard come in about, 11 o'clock.
I'd rather do back-to-back. I mean,
I think, looking through what's in the proposals and the information that's there, I think we could, 2 hours for the police and 1 hour plus for the fire department would probably
Okay.
work.
I agree.
All right, so we have
Everybody
Richard
okay
come
with
in at 11 then?
Bonnie, my only concern is, I mean, we're doing this tomorrow, is that what
Correct.
you're saying, police and fire tomorrow?
Mhm.
Tomorrow is
Wednesday.
We're gonna be making changes,
Right.
I'm sure. Will this give you enough, is there a meeting scheduled for Thursday?
No. But there wouldn't be enough time anyway. What the plan is that the changes you've made today, you will have tomorrow. So that you can, and they'll be hole punch, so you can throw away, they'll be identical to the pages you have now with those changes made, and you'll get new total pages, because those will be affected. So you'll be up to date before police and fire, first thing in the morning.
Okay, so then it'll be the police and fire.
Right,
other-
right. So any changes you make to police and fire, I'll do the same thing with, but what you will get, as long as these are changes that don't involve a great deal of further deliberation, you'll have an actual budget ordinance, you'll have new total pages,
Yep.
and an actual budget ordinance that reflects the changes you've requested, and otherwise it'll be good to go for a presentation at the May meeting. And as long as the changes are incorporated to your satisfaction, you'll have something you can vote on. And, well, it'll be presented by Hiram, probably. And then you'll have, schedule the public hearing, do all the
Yeah.
necessary things. But with any luck, you'll have a complete package before I leave
So
here.
will we vote on May 7th for the
No.
budget?
No,
But May 7th, you'll get the modified, revised whole budget based on all these workshops. And then you'll set the public hearing for June at that meeting. And after the public hearing is the only time you'll be able to vote. So you'll hold the public hearing, the first meeting in June. You're welcome to discuss it at that meeting. You're welcome to discuss it at the May 7th meeting. But
Yeah,
you
we
won't be
got
making a
plenty of time.
decision until probably either the first meeting in June, or we'll do the second meeting in June for the final vote after the public hearing at the first meeting.
So could Dustin or Rich ask for that equipment to be purchase, or we have to wait until June to do that?
You need to wait until you approve the budget
Yeah.
and
Well,
finalize it. I wouldn't,
no money needs to, you can't even do a purchase order
No, I can't do
no.
that.
prior to.
But I know Rich did
The
mention
start
about
of the year.
pre-ordering something.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even go out far with anything until y'all have made your final decision, because the public could get up and riot, and then y'all decide to change everything.
Our public? Say that again? Come on.
But you know what I'm saying? The consensus thing's great. I think, working everything out, getting a good feel for everything. But until you hold your public hearing, we're not gonna, nothing's approved. And by law, you can't do anything until after the public hearing anyway.
Right, yeah, we understand that. Bonnie, I have 2 recommendations that I'd like to make. And I have to, hopefully get a consensus from the council. One is, our legal fees. We budgeted $144,200. Last year, we had Jaguars, Layer, Med, and a lot of consumption of legal time. We're not gonna have that this year.
We hope.
So what I'd like to recommend is that we reduce that budget from $144,200 to $100,000. That should be ample funding set aside, I think, for Mr. Richardson.
Do you propose a mechanism for keeping the costs down? Right now, there is no mechanism. Anybody who wants to calls Grady and dispatches him
Grady.
to do work.
I don't call Grady.
Well, right now, there is no mechanism for there are no controls on the costs for Grady.
There
I'm
should
not
be some.
saying place controls, I'm just revising the budget, because he's
Right.
not gonna have the legal issues that we dealt with last fiscal year or this fiscal year.
Right, and most of those had gone by the wayside for the bulk of this year. What our fiscal 19 is more representative of fiscal 18 than in previous years. We had a lot of expenditures in fiscal 17. They were reduced considerably. We had 250,000 budgeted in fiscal 17. Fiscal 18 was 192.
What
We're
you're saying is
spending,
We've already lowered, we've
Yes.
already lowered the legal fees.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong line here. We had, yes, there were 160,000 actual fiscal 16, 138,000 actual fiscal 17, 144 in fiscal 18. So we're projecting, actually, it could go down. I mean, it could go down, maybe not to 100,000, but fairly comfortably to be more in line with fiscal 18, which was 127,000. So what's budgeted is the same that was budgeted in fiscal 18.
Quiver about whether it should be 5,000 or 10,000.
I thought you said you wanted it at
That
100,000.
should be a reduction, because we're hopefully gonna try to have a realistic budget and not project for the very worst that may occur, because when you do that, that's why we have a reserve fund, as you know.
Right. If you all want to reduce it, please. I just need a number.
I wouldn't mind going in line that we did last year, 125,000.
I agree.
Because I don't think, I think less and less legal things are on the table right now, so.
Fine.
Yeah.
I have no,
Is that okay, John?
I could deal with 125.
I'm good with that.
Okay, Bonnie.
I have no objection.
All right.
And the other cut I have, this is to do with the 401K. We have budgeted we budgeted for worst case scenario. I don't think there's going to be a worst case scenario, so I'm suggesting that we reduce that budget from 139.3 to 100,000. And that's over the fiscal year 18 projected.
You can do whatever you want.
I understand that.
The problem is with the 401K, what is the criteria for determining who is going to participate and who is not?
I'm not creating the criteria.
Well, in order to reduce it, it needs to be tied to something, meaning half of the people, or a quarter of the people, or all of the people are going to only contribute half of what's anticipated.
All of the people are not participating in this program. And I
Right.
was told that this was the worst case scenario if And I don't think that's gonna, and I think that practice is gonna continue. So the only thing that I'm suggesting is if you look at fiscal year 16, 17, the budget for 18, the projected for 18, and fiscal year 19, is a $45,000 increase. I'm only suggesting that we just reduce that proposed fiscal year 19 to $100,000.
I understand that, but I need to have some basis for doing so, so that when it turns out not to be true, more or less, it can be adjusted.
Yeah, there can be a budget amendment. Not true? Or
Well,
adjusted?
yes, of course, yeah, that's always the case.
Yeah.
But in terms of, from a budgeting standpoint, you first of all are sending the signal that you're offering a fringe benefit and you don't expect people to partake.
They haven't.
But from a budgeting standpoint, I need to tie it to individuals. The personnel budget is based on the individual circumstances. Health insurance of existing employees is based on the number of the cost to cover the dependents within our fringe benefit framework.
So base it on the current population that uses it, plus 3 or 4 additional people.
Which people?
Do you have
Take
to
an
have
average
it
of
in?
their salary.
Yeah, I mean, the personnel budget is like
Yeah, I
this
understand
big,
that. Just
and
like
it's tied to
average of their
individual
salary.
people. And the rationale for making any change that doesn't apply across the board needs to be documented. I don't understand the point of doing it because you first of all, you have a fringe benefit, you have to fund it. And you have to assume that individual people are all going to avail themselves of that fringe benefit. If, in fact, they don't, then the money reverts to the fund balance, and you haven't lost anything.
Yeah.
And
So you take the current population that uses it, and take an average of whatever the salaries are, and just apply that to the 3 or 4 other people who are may use it.
which people? I'm not going to do it arbitrarily.
Take an average, then pick 3 or 4 people.
Do you think it is reasonable to even go down that road, considering the message that you're sending?
What message am I sending?
The message is that people are not expected to avail themselves of a fringe benefit.
According to the actual data, they're not.
They're allowed to, that's the point. And I mean, we're getting into the weeds here with the
Yeah,
merit
no,
increase.
I don't want to. I'm just saying, I would like to see that number reduced.
And why not even, identify people that may or may not get their merit increase? I just don't see the point.
Bonnie, the number you came up with, 144,000, how did you come with that number? Is that something that, the
It
increase
is.
that you'll see over the next year?
It is 5% of the
Total.
right?
Yeah.
Right. 5% of police officers across the board, up to 5%, well, total 5% match of people's, it's a match of 5% of people's gross
Other employees,
salary.
what's the percentage of people that did contribute into the 401K?
It's maybe, I'm not sure. I don't have that number.
Is it half, more?
It varies, so we'd have to take an average over the year, so I'll have to let you know, I don't know.
Can you let us know by Friday?
By Friday?
Yeah.
Is your meeting Friday?
No. What's the reason to drop this number? I mean, what's the end game? Because
The end game is to try to identify costs that we can either reduce. Okay? See,
Your end game is to get down to a 1% tax decrease, isn't that it?
We can identify a
Then-
range of
then
other
what is-
things that can get there a lot quicker.
yeah,
Yeah.
we can reduce the taxes if that's what the whole council
He said
decides
I'm
to do.
wrong. That statement, he said my statement was
Okay.
incorrect, so.
Well,
so
here's my problem.
leave that.
When you start talking,
stop needling, please.
hang on, I'm sorry. When-
I would like to, listen, I would like to see at some point, when we're finished with this exercise, knowing that possibly that Jinx Creek may not be dredged, I want to know what the savings are, that would be. I don't know what the reallocation would be, I don't know. And secondly, I don't know what the that's number one. Number two, I don't know what the impact would be for the beach nourishment funds being used for stormwater. I'm just trying to get a ballpark sense. And number three, I think this year, after the second half tax increase that people got last year because of the increased fire fee, I would like to see a 2-cent tax reduction. And I'd like to see a plan with the 2-cent tax reduction.
You're asking for that now?
I'm honestly.
We don't know that until after we talk to the police and the fire department.
But honestly, I understand that's what you want. I'd like to see the whole council to agree to a 2% or 2-cent. Now, but it's a lot of work, especially with a short-time person, to produce that at this late in the game.
I
It's
know
impossible.
that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I'd like to see a consensus from the whole council that that's what we need to produce
I
for y'all to
agree.
review.
I agree.
And if the whole council doesn't agree to that, then we can proceed on our current track at no increase and no decrease.
Right, but bear in mind, we haven't spoken to the fire department
I
or the
know.
police department, which is a major chunk of this, or
I
a sizable
understand.
chunk.
I understand, but what
Okay,
I'm,
Bonnie, if you leave the number at $144,000 and we don't use it, it goes back into the general fund, correct?
Correct, correct. And you can use it, once the year is further along. If you authorize it now and go forward as it's currently proposed, and it becomes amazingly clear that halfway through the year, it's not going to get used, there's no way it could possibly all get used, then you can do a budget amendment and have that money available to spend on something else. May I also make a suggestion as far as, going down this road about a 2-cent tax? The one thing that needs to happen with the budget is the tax rate needs to get set. So if you wait until June to figure out if you're going to reduce it by 2 cents, there's not enough time. But everything's going to be the revaluation occurs in January.
Right.
So you can,
Well, that's supposed to be revenue neutral.
exactly, and it won't be, what will happen January is you will have the most up-to-date property tax information.
Right.
And something that you can count on for 3, possibly 5 years. So then you can make plans at that time to do overarching things like reduce the tax rate. As we said, we can identify enough in this current budget of one-shot items that could get you to a 1-cent decrease. And we can go down that road, we already have those numbers. 2 cents is a whole other ballgame.
See, that's what I'm not, 2 cents is another 155,000.
Correct.
We're gonna have a surplus this year that you predicted in 18 of them.
Correct. We also have, that surplus is eaten up by the stormwater stuff. If you want the stormwater stuff, another penny is going to be very difficult. And you're not going to get it by nickel and diming on things that matter.
Bonnie, can we do it right now? Could we do a 1-cent reduction?
Yes.
I think that's the fiscal way to do it, Rich. 1 cent decrease at this budget right now, and we can look at it again in January to do another penny if we can.
You can't do that.
Bonnie, are you
You just
saying?
said we
that-
could do that.
well, no, the other penny would be for the next fiscal year. I'm
Right.
sorry, Jamie.
Yeah,
Right.
we can't
But
do
just
it.
to clarify, I don't want that going
Well,
on
fine, we did,
derailed.
I think we can do 1 cent.
Because
of
the
that
revaluation
Look at the numbers.
is after it's
first.
already been taxed.
Well,
So
You don't have the
The
numbers.
1 cent is not.
Bonnie said we couldn't do it, Rich. Did you
we've
hear
already
what she
found a
just
way to
said?
get rid of $150,000.
2 cents would be very difficult to do.
That's based on all of this.
We approved most of this
No,
already.
we haven't yet. We
We can do
haven't
a
done the
1%.
police or fire.
Now,
The police department's looking for $360,000.
But that's budgeted, isn't it, Bonnie, at
It's
365,000?
budgeted in these numbers.
Yes.
Yeah, so
That's
we're going to come
budgeted
back
in there,
tomorrow
right?
and
So
talk
right
about it.
now, if we do the whole complete budget and don't reduce anything, we're still gonna be at a 16 cents a hundred tax rate, correct?
Correct.
All right, so I put a proposal out there that we ask Bonnie to do a 1 cent reduction, and that's a good start. And we can still look at the budget for the police department, Rich, we don't have to fund it if we don't agree on it, but we, right now, give her a heads up right now to do 1 cent, and we'll still look at the police department, still look at the fire department, and if there's more to be cut, we can cut up, Rich.
may I ask a question?
Is that fair, Gus?
Yeah,
John?
that's fine. But the proviso that we, if we can go a little deeper, we can do it. That's fine.
without jeopardizing the town and the welfare of the
Yeah,
town, I have no
and it's gotta
problem.
be sustainable. It's gotta be sustainable. 'Cause I
Correct.
don't want spikes.
May I ask a question?
Go ahead.
We can do 1%.
1 cent.
Just 1 cent, right, excuse me, 1 cent. And then possibly next year, we could do another 1 cent
It-
or a 2 cent next
Well,
year?
it depends on the revaluation.
Right,
If
I
property
agree.
values
I agree,
goes
but-
up,
But that possibility
probably.
exists.
Right,
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I needed to know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, remember, if it's gotta be sustainable,
It's gotta be sustainable.
it shouldn't come from personnel costs.
correct. And all
Say
of
that
the,
again?
these, the
It
items.
shouldn't come from personnel costs.
I agree.
Yeah.
Sustainability would be from services and operations. Personnel's, you know, you can't bank on always people not contributing, you can't bank on people
Oh, no,
not being here, so
exactly, yeah.
the reduction should come out
Yeah. I
of
mean,
non-personnel.
This is the benefit package. the
Bonnie,
way it
would
is
you
today.
come back to us with that 1 cent and how we could do it
Yes.
without touching personnel?
Yes,
Do we have
Aye.
consensus on that? Without touching personnel, just have her come out and give us if she can do it and how it would hurt and where it would hurt.
I have a
Aye.
consensus to listen to what she comes up with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought,
John, it's not a lot of money.
I thought
only
Bonnie already showed
$155,000.
us the first day where we could save a penny.
I agree. But she said 2 cents would hurt us, or it'd be difficult, and so let's stay with the 1 cent, 1 cent, and she'll come back to us and discuss it.
yeah, right, I'll have it laid out for you.
Yeah,
Um,
that's cool.
If, I'm trying to think, there's a lot of work to do between now and tomorrow morning, and I have a date tonight. So if we
I don't know if
have
that's
to, I'm not planning on burning the midnight oil, but would you be amenable to a Friday morning meeting?
Yeah, that's,
No.
Would you be available? No?
Well, I mean, I'm fine with not being, if y'all are fine with me not being here.
I'm not here Friday morning, we didn't schedule it, and I've
Right,
already got
correct,
other
correct.
things
I also have plans.
Okay. Another option would be that I not attend the police and fire meetings tomorrow, and I can work on it. If I can't get it done today, and you will need it tomorrow to make a decision,
yeah, so,
then I would be absent
I
during
think that's
Ken's
fine, Bonnie.
presentation.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ken's gonna take a good chunk of that first part to explaining. I've
Exactly.
already asked him to not accept questions until he's done explaining his full.
Yeah.
Because it's a departmental overhaul, basically. So he's gonna go into a full-length presentation on what he wants. So there'll be a given time in the morning as
Yeah, Bonnie,
well.
so while he's doing that, you could finish up.
Finish it up. Yeah, great.
Right.
Okay?
We're okay
Awesome.
with that, guys?
Mhm.
yeah.
Yes.
Great.
So
Thank you.
We won't see you tomorrow?
Not until I come up with the goods.
Lisa, now when are we supposed to do a recess? Or,
Well, actually, you can adjourn, but we've got lunch. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I see what you mean for the workshops.
we're done?
Yeah, recess.
Yeah, we're gonna recess now until tomorrow morning.
Karen,
I do
meeting
too.
tomorrow, who's gonna keep the copious notes so that if we make a revision, that Bonnie's aware of it? You? You? Wanna bring a fan? You? We got one. Just everything falls on you.
Dustin, it's luncheon.